Level 1. Trash Heroes. The bottom of the barrel. These are the superheroes that make you pause a comic or movie and go, who greenlit this? They're so absurdly useless that it feels like they were created during a fever dream. Their superpowers sound like rejected would you rather questions. Take Condiment King, yes, an actual DC villain slash hero who weaponizes ketchup and mustard. His greatest enemy? Laundry detergent. Or Arm Fall Off Boy, whose special ability is literally detaching his own limbs and hitting people with them. That's not a power, that's a medical emergency. Then there's Matter Eater Lad, whose ability to eat anything sounds funny until you realize that eating steel beams doesn't exactly stop crime. These are the characters who show up to a final battle and immediately get obliterated by background debris. They're the kind of heroes who trip running into frame, accidentally press a self-destruct button, and call it a day. Their costumes look like clearance rack cosplay, neon tights, random goggles, and logos designed by someone's bored nephew. They're the human equivalent of background extras in their own story. They mean well, sure, they believe in justice, teamwork, and giving 110%. The problem is, 110% of nothing is still nothing. The world doesn't need these heroes. The world needs these heroes to stop trying. Level 1 superheroes are what happens when creativity hits rock bottom, and then keeps digging. They don't save people, they serve as cautionary tales. Level 2 low tier heroes. Now, we move from complete embarrassment to functional mediocrity. These are the heroes who can technically do something. It's just not that impressive. They're the ones with one niche ability, one good scene, and one reason to never lead a solo film. They're not terrible. They just scream side character energy. Take Hawkeye. Yeah, he's cool, but he's also just a guy with a bow standing next to aliens, gods, and literal sorcerers. Or Falcon before he got the shield. Basically Captain America's unpaid Uber driver. Ant-Man, pre-Quantumania? Fun guy, but his power is shrinking and committing minor crimes. You could honestly beat him with a can of Raid. These are the kind of heroes that only exist because someone has to fill the background during team shots. They're like the rhythm guitarist of the Avengers, technically part of the band, but you wouldn't notice if they left. Their powers work fine in street fights or training montages, but put them next to an actual cosmic threat, and it's like bringing a Nerf gun to a nuclear war. Still, there's something charming about them. They're the underdogs. They try hard. They get knocked down, make sarcastic comments, and get back up again, only to immediately get knocked down again. They don't headline posters, they don't get spin-offs until phase 5, but they're loyal. They show up, they take orders. Level 2 heroes are the universe's supporting cast. Essential to the vibe, irrelevant to the victory. They're not saving the world, but they're making sure someone else can. And honestly, that's cute. Level 3, mid heroes. Now, we enter the comfort zone, the land of yeah, it's fine. Level 3 heroes are the definition of mid. They're not bad, but they're not giving main character energy either. Everything about them screams safe, serviceable, market tested. They've got the budget, the CGI, the theme song, the catchphrase, but they don't have it. You know exactly what I mean. That spark that makes a character iconic. They're too polished to be exciting, too formulaic to be memorable. You watch their movie once, you laugh at the jokes, you nod at the moral lesson, and then you forget about them completely. They're like superhero fast food. Consistent, filling, and utterly forgettable 2 hours later. Think Doctor Strange in his solo sequel, The Eternals. You forgot they existed until I said it. Shazam after the first movie. Even some of the X-Men fall here. Powerful in theory, plot devices in execution. They have all the tools, but zero identity. They're just floating through their franchises, saying dramatic lines like, we have to do this together, while the real stars handle the heavy lifting. They're cinematic filler, the superhero equivalent of background music. Not good enough to inspire, not bad enough to meme. If you put them in a team up, you'll barely notice they're there. And if you remove them entirely, nothing would change. The studio loves them though. They're predictable, safe, profitable. They don't cause controversy, they just exist. Level 3 heroes are the beige paint of the superhero world. Perfect for brand synergy, terrible for passion. Level 4 heroes are the almost greats. They've got everything they need to be iconic, good actors, killer powers, emotional backstories, and yet something's always just off. They'll have a legendary scene one minute, then a complete tone-deaf disaster the next. You can feel the greatness trying to break out, but it never fully does. These are the characters that live and die by inconsistent writing. When the script hits, they shine. When it doesn't, you get 2 hours of what even was that? Examples: Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Emotionally phenomenal, buried under weird editing and forced franchise building. Thor, Shakespeare in one moment, stand-up comedian the next. Doctor Strange, so visually interesting that you almost forget how shallow his dialogue is. Even Daredevil, depending on which season you caught him in. They're good, sometimes even great, but never all the way through. They're the kind of heroes that make fans argue endlessly. Half the internet swears they're underrated masterpieces. The other half calls them overhyped disappointments. The truth? They're both right. Level 4 heroes are the heartbreakers of the genre. They've got the skill, the aura, the depth, but not the consistency. One film makes you believe. The next makes you question your entire fandom. They're cinematic mood swings. They show up like, this time will be different, and then immediately crack a Fortnite joke in space. They want to be deep, they really do, but every time they start saying something profound, the studio cuts to a punchline or a sequel tease. They become the victims of overexposure and corporate meddling. They could have been legends, but they got memed instead. And yet, because they almost hit greatness, people cling to them. You'll always find one friend who passionately defends a level 4 hero like their family. These movies are misunderstood. No bro, they're just mid with cinematic lighting. Level 4 heroes are like that X you keep convincing yourself has changed, and then they ghost you halfway through the sequel. They have everything except follow through. Level 5, good heroes. Alright, now we're talking. These are the superheroes that finally justify their hype. They're not memes, not filler, not walking disappointments. They're the real deal. Level 5 heroes are the ones who remind you why you ever loved this genre. They've got presence. They've got purpose. They've got the kind of charisma that could make you forgive even the dumbest plot twists. When they show up, you sit up, because you know they're about to do something that matters. Think Iron Man in the first Avengers, Captain America in Winter Soldier, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man before he learned jazz dancing, Wonder Woman in her debut film. These characters aren't just good at fighting, they're good at feeling. You care about their choices. Their mistakes hit hard. Their victories feel earned. They're powerful, but not invincible. Confident, but not arrogant most of the time. They're the balance between realism and fantasy, still human enough to be relatable, but strong enough to make you believe in something bigger. And the key thing? Consistency. They don't need 10 reboots to get it right. They're solid every time. Even when their movies stumble, the characters carry them through sheer personality. Tony Stark could be in a mediocre movie and you'd still quote him. Steve Rogers could say one patriotic line and you'd still feel chills. That's level 5 energy, dependable excellence. They can stand next to gods and still feel essential. They can headline, they can support, they can lead, whatever you need. They're the Swiss Army knife of superheroes. They're the ones fans argue about who's better, not why they exist at all. And yet, as good as they are, they're still not great. They don't push boundaries, they perfect them. They stay within the formula, but they do it flawlessly. They'll always be beloved. They'll always be respected, but they'll never redefine the genre. They're the backbone of the superhero pantheon, the kind that keeps the universe running while the GOATs build the legend. You can't make a cinematic universe without level 5 heroes, but you also can't make history without moving beyond them. Level 6, great heroes. Now we're in elite territory. The air's thinner up here. This is where superhero stories stop being blockbusters and start being art. Level 6 heroes don't just entertain, they transcend. They redefine what people thought was possible in this genre. They're deeper, heavier, and more human than most serious dramas. Their stories leave scars. Their performances leave legacies. We're talking about Logan, a man so broken that his final act of heroism hurts to watch. The Dark Knight trilogy's Batman, the billionaire who turned trauma into purpose. Black Panther, a king who became a symbol. Even Magneto, technically a villain, but emotionally a philosopher. These are not popcorn superheroes. Their morality plays in capes. They wrestle with guilt, grief, identity, and legacy, all while punching robots or saving worlds. They make the impossible personal. A level 6 story doesn't end when the credits roll. It lingers, it sticks with you when you're brushing your teeth hours later, wondering if you'd have done the same thing in their shoes. And what separates them from the level 5s is risk. Level 5 heroes play it safe. Level 6 heroes make you uncomfortable. They challenge the audience. They make you question the entire idea of heroism. Sometimes they even lose, but when they do, it means something. They don't save everyone, and they don't always want to. They're flawed, raw, and often tragic. You don't watch them for escapism, you watch them for catharsis. They're also carried by performance. Hugh Jackman in Logan, Heath Ledger's Joker, Chadwick Boseman's regal calm. These aren't comic roles, they're cultural milestones. Level 6 heroes break the mold. They can't be copied. They can't be rebooted every 3 years, because their strength isn't just power, it's presence. They're not crowd pleasers, they're storytellers. They elevate everything around them, from the score to the cinematography. You don't watch a level 6 movie while scrolling your phone. You sit, you listen, you feel. They're not for everyone, and that's what makes them special. They don't care about toy sales or shared universes, they care about legacy. Level 6 heroes don't just save the world, they change it. Level 7, the GOATs. And now, we arrive at the top, the holy pantheon of superheroes. These are the names that echo through every generation, the ones who became the blueprint for everyone else. They don't just live in pop culture, they are pop culture. They can go decades without a good movie and still remain relevant. That's power. We're talking Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Wonder Woman, Black Panther, the gods of this entire genre. You can be 5 years old or 50, watch one scene and you get them. You know who they are, you know what they stand for. Superman represents hope. Batman represents justice. Spider-Man represents sacrifice. Iron Man represents redemption. Black Panther represents legacy. Wonder Woman represents truth and compassion. These heroes don't just fight villains, they embody ideals. They've transcended their creators, their actors, even their studios. They've become modern mythology. Every new superhero is, in some way, just trying to reach their level, to make people feel something that deep. Their stories get retold, reinvented, reimagined, and no matter how many times you reboot them, they still hit. You can change the actor, the suit, the timeline, the symbol stays untouchable. And the craziest part? Every one of them has failed before. Bad scripts, weird reboots, disappointing sequels, didn't matter. They always rise again. Because level 7 heroes are more than entertainment. They're icons. They outlive trends. They outlive phases. They outlive everything. They're the heroes whose names are tattooed, quoted, and whispered like legends. The ones who make you remember why these stories exist in the first place. When a level 7 hero wins, the theater cheers. When they die, the world goes silent. When they return, everyone loses their minds. They're not just strong, they're eternal. You can't teach what they have, you can only feel it. Level 7 heroes are proof that sometimes fiction hits harder than reality. That sometimes hope wears a cape. They're not perfect. They never were, but they've defined heroism itself for generations. And they'll keep doing it long after we're gone. They're the reason superhero culture even exists. Everyone else is just renting space in their legacy.